The steady beep of the heart monitor echoed through the sterile hospital room in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a grim soundtrack to my shallow, desperate breaths. My name is Cameron Doyle, 45 years old, a long-haul truck driver, now lying in a hospital bed, fighting for my life after a massive heart attack. Tubes snaked from my arms. A tiny stent kept my heart clinging to its rhythm. 2 days ago, I flatlined, twice. The doctors called me a medical miracle. But when I picked up my phone, it wasn't encouragement or love waiting for me. It was betrayal. Cold and precise. A screenshot of our joint bank account. Balance $0, 0 cents. And beneath it, a text from my wife, Dana. I deserve every penny after everything I've done for you. $61,438.72. Emergency fund, truck maintenance savings, retirement nest egg, gone. 15 years of marriage, no kids. Just a mortgage in a sleepy neighborhood and too many quiet dinners alone during my time off the road. I stared at the screen, waiting for the rage to hit me. It didn't. Only a hollow, icy stillness, as if everything I had built had crumbled into dust. I tapped a thumbs-up emoji and sent it. No words. My hand trembled slightly, but my mind had never been sharper. The doctor entered, his voice calm but firm. You need rest. No stress. No driving for at least 6 weeks. He hesitated. Is someone picking you up tomorrow? Yeah, I lied, gazing out the window at the leaden South Dakota sky. What do you do when the one who swore to love you steals everything the moment you're caught between life and death? I didn't know the answer yet, but one thing was certain. I wasn't going back to that house. 15 years ago, I met Dana outside a gas station in Cheyenne, Wyoming. The sun was setting, painting the sky crimson. She stood next to a battered Honda Civic, her flat tire and panicked expression catching my eye. I was a 30-year-old trucker back then, driving a massive Peterbilt. I pulled over to help. She smiled, those bright brown eyes lighting up, calling me her hero as I changed the tire with ease. That night, she looked at me like I was the most extraordinary man on earth. Funny how the things that first attract us eventually become background noise, then burdens. We married 6 months later, on a crisp fall afternoon in Sioux Falls. Simple backyard wedding at my brother Jeff's place. Just family, a few friends, and a local band playing gentle country tunes. I was 30, she was 27, old enough to know better, young enough to believe in forever. Dana said she loved my strength, my steadiness despite the brutal work I did. I loved her warmth, the way she made everything lighter, her smile at the door, the breakfasts she packed for my long hauls. I drove across America, Nebraska fields, Oregon mountains, sleeping in my cab, eating at truck stops, counting down the miles to get home a day early. Dana didn't love the absence. You're always gone. I'm always here, she'd half joke, her eyes tinged with sadness. But she liked what my paycheck brought. A 3-bedroom house in a quiet suburb, weekend trips to Lake Michigan, a closet full of nice clothes, a brand new SUV. I didn't complain. I was working for both of us, chasing the dream we built together. In the early years, every night, no matter where I was, I called her. We'd talk for hours, little towns I passed through, plans for buying a better house, silly things. She told me about her office job at the insurance company, the annoying co-workers, her attempts to repaint the living room, the new recipes she tried. I loved hearing her voice, even if it was just small talk. But over time, the calls shortened. An hour became 5 minutes. Then just a text. Made it to Nashville, all good. Home. Talk tomorrow. I thought that was normal. Marriage evolves, right? Passion fades, familiarity grows. I missed the signs. Or maybe I refused to see them. 2 years ago, Dana stopped asking when I'd be home. She started hanging out with new friends I'd never met. Weekend trips she vaguely described as just a girl's getaway in Minneapolis. I didn't question her. I trusted her. Marriage is built on trust, isn't it? But trust can blind you. Our house was my pride. We bought it 7 years ago. 2 stories, a big backyard, lined with ancient elm trees. 3 months ago, I refinanced it. Lower interest rates. Only my name on the papers. Better credit score. Dana said she was too busy to come sign. You got this, she smiled. I thought it was indifference. Now I know it was something else. She didn't even ask about the paperwork, the finances, the savings. She just didn't care. Last year, after a close friend of mine, Tim, had a stroke, I drew up a medical power of attorney, naming my niece Megan, a smart 22-year-old law student at the University of South Dakota, to make decisions if something happened to me. Dana didn't know about that either. I never thought I'd need it. But life has a cruel way of making sure you do. Other signs came back to me. Dana checking her phone under the table, changing passwords for security, transferring money for better interest rates, coming home later, leaving earlier. Trips that didn't quite make sense. I ignored it, or told myself it was normal. Lying in that hospital bed, I realized how blind I had been. When I woke up after the heart attack, it wasn't just physical pain I felt. It was the collapse of everything I had trusted. Dana's text wasn't just financial theft, it was betrayal. The money represented every snowstorm in Montana I had driven through, every freezing night in Idaho, every meal I skipped to take an extra load. She didn't just take cash. She stole security, trust, and 15 years of my life. What chilled me most was the numbness inside. No rage, no tears, just exhaustion, a bone-deep weariness that sleep couldn't touch. I stared out the hospital window at the slow, drifting gray clouds. Every heartbeat reminded me I was still alive, but I wasn't sure I wanted to be anymore. The day I was discharged, I didn't go home. I called Jeff, my older brother, who lived on the other side of Sioux Falls in a rundown house with a weedy front yard. We hadn't talked much over the years. Not from bad blood, just separate lives. Jeff worked as a construction site manager, divorced twice, and knew firsthand how cruel people could be. Need a favor? I croaked into the phone, my voice ragged from anesthesia. Name it, he said without hesitation. I need a place to stay for a few days, and don't tell Dana. There was a pause. She doesn't know you're alive? Oh, she knows, I said. She just doesn't know I'm not coming back. Jeff picked me up from the hospital the next morning. He drove his old Ford F-150, the radio muttering about incoming snow. I sat quietly in the passenger seat, clutching my hospital bag, watching familiar streets blur past. Jeff's house was modest, a small living room, a fold-out bed, and the faint smell of old wood. You should eat, Jeff said, handing me a ham sandwich. I wasn't hungry. I was thinking about the house I'd bought, the refinancing, how Dana hadn't cared enough to even ask. I thought about her furtive glances at her phone, her new passwords, her unexplained weekend trips. I had been blind. Now my eyes were wide open. 3 days later, I got a text from Harold, our neighbor. Haven't seen you around. Everything okay? Dana's got some guy at your place. Figured you should know. It hit like a punch to the gut. Harold, A 50-year-old retired military guy lived 3 houses down, always seemed like a good neighbor. He helped fix my fence when I was on the road, mowed my lawn sometimes, shared beers in the backyard. Now, I wondered if Harold was warning me or hiding something worse. I didn't reply. I let the truth sink in, slow and poisonous. That same day, Jeff drove me to the bank. Not the local branch where Dana and I used to bank together. The downtown office, the headquarters. I met with Sarah, a mid-aged fraud specialist. I showed her Dana's text and the screenshot. Explained I'd been hospitalized, unconscious, while the money vanished. Sarah's face stayed professional, but her eyes held sympathy. "Mr. Doyle, we can open a fraud investigation. But since this was a joint account and your wife had access, it'll be difficult to prove wrongdoing." "I understand," I said. "But I want to try." Sarah nodded, typing away. "We'll need your hospital records showing you were incapacitated and proof that the money primarily came from your income." I promised to gather everything. I didn't lash out. I didn't storm the house. I didn't call Dana screaming for answers. I stayed silent. I observed. I planned. At Jeff's house, I started compiling evidence. Accessing accounts Dana didn't know about. A small business fund I kept from freelance hauls. Investments she never bothered with. I called Blake, a lawyer Jeff knew, to understand my legal position. Blake came over one stormy afternoon. We spread papers across Jeff's worn kitchen table. Refinance contracts, bank statements, medical power of attorney documents. "The house situation is interesting," Blake said, adjusting his glasses, "because the refinance is in your name alone, and with your medical history now on record, you have a strong claim to sole ownership." "And the money?" I asked. Blake grimaced. "Harder. Joint accounts imply joint ownership, but withdrawing it while you were unconscious could be argued as financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult." I nodded, feeling like a chess player lining up his first moves. "And divorce?" Blake's eyes sharpened. "South Dakota is an equitable distribution state. Given the financial betrayal, the timing of the withdrawals, and the evidence we're gathering, you could come out way ahead, but you have to stay quiet. No contact. No answering her texts." Meanwhile, Dana's messages became frantic. "Where are you? The truck's gone. Did they tell you to move it? This is crazy. You can't just disappear. We need to talk." Every message felt like a needle stabbing my heart, but I didn't reply. Jeff watched me from the kitchen, sipping a beer. "You gonna text her back?" I closed the laptop. "Not yet." I moved systematically. Requested my full hospital records. Filed for long-term disability from my trucking company, 60% pay for up to 12 months. Another income stream Dana didn't know about. I started preparing for war. 1 week later, when Dana was at work, I went home. I still had my key. I stepped inside and immediately smelled it. Cologne that wasn't mine. A faint whiff of red wine in the trash. 2 empty wine bottles. In the dishwasher, 2 used wine glasses. The house felt foreign, like stepping into someone else's life. I collected my clothes, my important papers, and a locked box of birth certificates, passports, and family keepsakes. On the hallway table where our wedding photo used to sit, nothing. No trace of the promises we made. I locked the door behind me without looking back. 2 months after my heart attack, things escalated. Blake was ready. We filed for an emergency hearing over the missing money. Dana showed up with her lawyer, Patricia Wells, a shark of a woman known for taking everything, houses, retirement accounts, even future wages. I wore my only suit, a deep blue one, reserved for funerals. Inside the courtroom, my heart thudded. Not from fear this time, but focus. Judge Harmon, an older man with silver hair and glasses perched low on his nose, examined the files stone-faced. He looked at Dana, then me. "Ms. Wells," he said, "your client drained a joint account while Mr. Doyle was hospitalized after a life-threatening heart attack. Correct?" Wells stood, composed. "Your Honor, my client had legal access. Additionally, Mr. Doyle refinanced the house without informing her, an act we view as financial deception." The judge removed his glasses. His gaze sharpened. "I didn't ask about the house, counselor. I asked about the money." "Did she know he was in the hospital?" Dana whispered frantically to Wells. "Yes, Your Honor," Wells admitted. "But she was under emotional distress and acted to protect her financial future." The judge's voice dropped to a chilling low. "Withdrawing funds from a dying man is not protecting your future. It's exploiting his vulnerability." He ordered the money frozen until property division could be finalized. Not a full victory, but enough. As we left the courthouse, Dana tried to approach me. Her lawyer grabbed her arm, but not before Dana blurted, "Cameron, you don't understand. It's not what you think." I walked past without a word. A week later, Blake called me to his office. He slid a folder across the table. "We got something," he said, eyes gleaming. Inside were bank statements from an account I'd never seen before. Under Dana's name. Balance: $127,340.56. The account had been opened 18 months ago with regular deposits, always just under the federal reporting limit of $10,000. Megan, my niece, had uncovered it during her internship at a local credit union. She also found something worse. Harold, my good neighbor, was listed as an authorized user. "Harold," I said, my voice dropping. Blake nodded grimly. "They've been involved for a long time, Cameron. While you were out on the road, Harold played the helpful neighbor. But he was helping himself to more than your lawn. It wasn't just Dana. It was a coordinated betrayal. Harold, the man who shared beers with me, helped fix my fence, kept an eye on my house, had been sleeping with my wife, helping her steal from me. I stood, fists clenching. "Show what's next?" Blake smiled, a thin, dangerous smile. "We make them regret ever thinking they could get away with it." The next month, I played it smart. I stayed at Jeff's, healing my body while Blake built the legal case. Megan became my secret weapon, tracking Dana's and Harold's financial moves. One night, Megan reported, "They're moving money. Small transfers to multiple accounts. They know they're being watched. They were getting ready to run." I called Blake. "We need to move fast." Agreed. But if we jump too soon, they'll slip away. We needed leverage, something that would trap them. I made a move of my own. I drove past the house when Dana was at work, walking the property line, taking pictures. A brand new shed Harold had helped build. A fancy stone pathway that appeared while I was hauling freight in California. All paid for with my money. I sent the photos to Blake. Documented. 2 days later, Dana's lawyer made a weak offer. Dana would return half the stolen money if I gave her half the house. Blake called me. "They're testing you, seeing if you'll fold cheap. What's your advice?" "Hold steady." I did. Meanwhile, I quietly secured my disability income. Another stream of cash, completely out of Dana's reach. Then the text came from an unknown number. "This is Patricia Wells, representing Dana Doyle." Any further personal contact will be considered harassment. All communication must go through legal channels. They saw me driving by the house. They were scared. I smiled, forwarded the text to Blake. "Good," he replied. "Let them sweat." The breakthrough came on a freezing morning. Jeff and I drove past Harold's house and saw it, a bright for sale sign in the front yard. I called Megan immediately. 1 hour later, she confirmed. Harold had withdrawn nearly $90,000 via cashier's checks 2 days ago. They were preparing to flee. I called Blake. "Time to act." "On it. I'm filing for an emergency injunction first thing tomorrow. We're freezing everything." That same evening, Dana texted me. "We need to talk. Just us. No lawyers." I showed Jeff. "They're desperate," he said. I nodded, sent the message to Blake. "Don't respond," he replied. "We're close." At the emergency hearing, I watched from a distance as Dana and Harold argued in the parking lot. They didn't notice me recording a 30-second video clip, clear evidence of their relationship. In court, Blake presented the video to Judge Harmon. The judge watched without saying a word, tapping his pen on the bench. "Ms. Wells," he said coldly, "your client testified there was no relationship with Mr. Jensen. This video suggests otherwise. Care to explain?" Wells stammered, "Your Honor, the nature of their relationship is irrelevant." Judge Harmon cut her off. "It's highly relevant when we're discussing financial exploitation. The court finds credible evidence of conspiracy to defraud Mr. Doyle." He turned to me. "Given Mr. Doyle's vulnerable medical state and the clear pattern of deception, I hereby grant him sole temporary possession of the marital home. All of Mrs. Doyle's and Mr. Jensen's assets are to be frozen. Neither party may leave the county without court permission." Dana let out a choked sob. Her lawyer tried to protest. Judge Harmon raised his hand sharply. "You should be grateful I'm not referring this for criminal prosecution. 3 months after my heart attack, I moved back into the house. My house. The divorce finalized faster than expected." Dana, cornered and defeated, offered no resistance. The court awarded me the house, the truck. 80% of our savings Dana walked away with. Her SUV, 20% of the cash, and her own legal bills to pay. The secret account was split, but the judge ordered Dana to cover all of my attorney fees out of her share. I never spoke to Dana again. Everything went through lawyers. Word was she moved to Minneapolis trying to start over. Harold disappeared. 6 months later, I sold the house. Too many memories. Too many ghosts. I bought a smaller place near Jeff and Megan. I even helped pay for Megan's law school tuition. She's going to make a hell of a lawyer. I never went back to long-haul trucking, doctor's orders. Instead, I became a dispatch coordinator for a local freight company. Home every night, peace every day. I started gardening, fishing with Jeff, reading novels by the fireplace, small things, real things. People ask me if I'm angry. I'm not. You can't control others, only how you react. Dana thought she took everything from me that day in the hospital, but all she really did was force me to rebuild, stronger, smarter, and better. Last week I found our old wedding album buried in a moving box. I opened it, looked at our young, smiling faces so full of hope. I thought about throwing it away, but I didn't. It's part of my story, not the end. Just one chapter. This morning, I stood on my new porch, a hot cup of coffee in hand, watching the South Dakota sun rise over endless fields. Golden light bathed everything. The breeze smelled of fresh grass. For the first time in years, I smiled. Not for anyone else, for myself. I didn't just lose a wife. I found myself again. I found Cameron Doyle, the man I was, and the man I was always meant to become.